Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Today's video, I want to talk about where I am currently in my life because I've made some major changes and it's really exciting. I feel really good about myself right now, currently. But as most of you that know me know, I've been a big guy all my life. Like right now, I'm 6 foot tall and I'm not really the tallest guy, but I mean like overweight. I've been a big guy forever. I've always been overweight, heavy. Right now I'm about 305, 306, which a couple months ago I was 330, literally 330 pounds. Heaviest I've ever been was 330. And I've hit that number a couple times in the past like 2-3 years. But the most recent time was like, January or something, December. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I've always been heavy. I've always been overweight. I've always eaten way too much of the wrong foods. So not only was I eating the wrong foods, I was eating way too much of it. It's crazy. And just really, really poor habits. And honestly, ignorance to nutrition, health, anything like that. I've always I played sports a lot during my life, basketball, soccer, football, mainly football. And I did not pay attention to nutrition at all. Like essentially I would just work out really hard and then eat whatever and however much I could. Literally in high school, my like junior and senior year, there was a McDonald's right by the high school. And when we would get done with home games, I would literally go to McDonald's with me and my friend. I would eat sometimes like five burgers, like a combination of McDoubles and McChickens in one night. Obviously I burned a lot of calories and a lot of energy in the football game, but still, that's kind of crazy. So that's just like an example of how, rough it's gotten. Recently I've just been eating tons of fast food. Obviously everything. I mean, look at me. But I've made some major changes and I do want to talk about that. The first thing I started to do, and honestly, like I said, ignorance is the biggest issue with me as far as nutrition and actually how the body works internally. Because only thing I've ever known was, the harder you work out, the longer you work out, and the less you eat, the better it is for you. But I never understood the inside of the body and how all this works and how it affects you. But anyway, I started out with intermittent fasting, essentially. And I wasn't changing the types of food I was eating. I was just changing how frequently I would eat, which didn't really work at all. I mean, even though I was getting used to not eating so many meals throughout the day, I started off with and it was actually my girlfriend that kind of got me to consider intermittent fasting. And actually a really good friend, a few years ago, I remember working with him at a warehouse and he was talking about fasting, but I'm not sure if he was doing intermittent, but I remember him mentioning fasting and I was like, yeah, right, dude. But anyway, he lost a lot of weight, looks great, fantastic. And if you're watching this video, you know who you are. But this guy looks fantastic. Literally, it's such an inspiration. And I want to slap myself for not listening to him and when we worked together. Because he was starting to lose a lot of weight, and me, I was like, there ain't no way I could cut back on eating. I'm always hungry and stuff, and I would always work out so hard, because the workouts from football translated, and I kept working out the same type of way and doing sprints and working out with heavy weights all the time, but I would never pay attention to nutrition or how frequently I'm eating. But anyway, I started out with the intermittent fasting where I would fast for 16 hours a day. And then I would have an 8-hour eating window. And the way I was doing it was crazy. I would so I would fast for 16 hours and I wouldn't eat. My window was noon, 12 noon to 8 at night. And I would eat so much. I'd be so hungry from the 16 hours that I didn't eat, that I would eat everything in sight. As soon as it hit 12, I'm eating everything. Literally all the sweets, all the fried foods, everything like that. I mean, it was no restriction. And that was really just, I assumed that, okay, my body's, I got 16 hours to metabolize all this and kind of get rid of it. And I kind of just thought that was how you do it, but I never saw any results from that. Maybe a little bit. And then I just started to like meal prep a little bit, lean more towards that, and like start cutting things out. Like I would just cut one thing out at a time, like every 2 weeks. So the first thing I cut out was like fried foods. And because the thing is, man, I love French fries. It's like my weakness. And then like fried chicken and stuff was like my freaking weakness. And like chicken sandwiches. I would eat the crap out of fried chicken sandwiches all the time, and multiple chicken sandwiches at a time. So that was the first thing. I wouldn't cut out anything else. I was still drinking soda, still having freaking donuts and cookies and cakes and stuff. And so I was just cutting one thing out, and then, you know, 2 weeks later or a week later or whenever I decided, I'll cut another thing out. So first was fried food. The second thing was sodas. And that wasn't really hard for me anyway, because I'm not really a soda person. I'm more like a Gatorade type person, or stuff like that, like juices and Gatorade. So soda's not a huge deal. Energy drinks kind of did help me. So I did drink Monster and Red Bull, but just not, I didn't overdo it in that area specifically. I still did drink that stuff, which is horrible. But so that was kind of, you could see what I was doing. I was just cutting things out, and eventually, you know, cutting bread, cutting blah, 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 cutting desserts, cookies, sweets, ice cream, and stuff like that, because there is this kick-ass cookie like place right by where I live, and they deliver cookies, like warm freaking cookies, to your door, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, so I started cutting one by one out, and it actually was relatively easy. And then that was pretty much it. And I was still doing the 16/8 fasting, and then I started to like learn about like the inside of the body and how, you know, everything works. And I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not a freaking doctor, honestly, but I do watch a channel of a doctor that he's a holistic doctor that talks about all this stuff and what happens when food enters your body, and you know, from beginning to end, and how it's broken down, and where does the food go, and blah blah blah, and how the body works. And fasting was something that drew my interest because, to be honest, I was just talking to my girlfriend yesterday about this. It doesn't require a lot of thought. You know, like when you meal prep and you're always like trying to be so health conscious of exactly what you're eating, you're counting calories or blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's a lot of like mental energy, which is great, I guess. It depends on who you are. But like fasting is just like, oh, I just don't eat, right? I don't really have to do much except not eat. So it's not really, that's why it kind of drew to me, because I guess I'm lazy in that area. I don't really feel like doing all the freaking crazy calorie tracking and meal prepping, even though I've kind of, you know, experimented with that stuff, and I used to meal prep half-assed like a few years ago. So I don't really want to do that, and fasting was attractive to me, and honestly, I didn't think it was something I could actually do consistently and be okay with it. But I did start doing it. Like I said, I did a 16/8 fast, which is you fast for 16 hours, and then 8 hours is a eating window. And the cool thing about the 16-hour fast is a good chunk of that is while you're sleeping. So think about it. Half of that I was sleeping for, say, 8 hours, and then it's only like literally like an 8-hour fast that you're awake. So it wasn't too bad. You just essentially skip breakfast. And then that's a good way to start if you want to fast. It saves money and it saves a lot of energy and time, but like you don't have to always think about what do I eat in the morning, or I got to make my shake, or I got to do this and blah, 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 and stop by these fast food restaurants. It saves money and time. So that was a good thing. But like I said, I was still eating like crap when I was doing that. And then eventually I started to learn about the inside of the body and kind of just cutting stuff out more and more and more. And then started to lean towards like organic foods. And I'm still working on, that's where I'm at right now, essentially. But with the fasting, I did step it up a notch. So I went from 16/8, and then I was doing, 18/6. So fasting 18 hours in the 6-hour window. And then I went 20/4, which is, I just stopped doing that, and I made it even harder. But I was doing 4-hour eating window, and then I would fast for 20 hours. It sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds crazy, especially if you've never done it, or never even thought about it. But it's really not that bad. Depends on how motivated you are. And honestly, my motivation is pretty strong right now because I hate the way I look. I don't like looking in the mirror. I don't want to accept what I look like and how I feel. And honestly, that's the most important part, how I feel. Because I have a good picture of who I want to be in the future, and that person has a lot of energy, is excited, has a lot of enthusiasm for life, jumps out of bed, is really pumped up. And right now, like with my weight and what I'm putting in my body, that is not going to get me there. So that's a big motivator for me, is to have the energy. It's not necessarily the physique and looking good, even though those are bonuses. I want to feel good, and I want to live a long time and be healthy, and I want my brain to be as sharp as possible. So that's really the big motivator for me. But if you don't have a ton of motivation for that, I mean, it's going to be very hard. I mean, obviously you're going to get hungry a lot, and if your body's always used to eating all the time, like I was, where I would eat as soon as I wake up all the way till pretty much I'm going to sleep, I'm eating, and late at night, all this stuff, then it's going to be very hard. But if you, like for me, pain motivates me, and it was very painful it's very painful to be this big for that long, and always start diets and quit them, and start this and quit, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not even going to talk about the workout side of what I'm doing. It's just this part, the mental part, because if you have pain that drives you, that's a good motivator, and it can help you, actually do something. But that starts out with where do you want to be in life, or who do you want to be? How do you want to feel every day? And if what you're doing right now isn't going to translate to that, then that should cause some pain to therefore push you to do something and change it. So I just wanted to share that. Right now, currently, like I said, I made it even harder, the fasting. So right now it's like I'm doing what they call the OMAD fasting. OMAD is 1 meal a day, so OMAD. And that's essentially what I'm doing. So every day around like 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8, I eat a pretty sizable meal. It's usually like chicken breasts and like spinach and avocado and like bell pepper and stuff, all kind of cut up and mixed together. I'm not really somebody that needs to be stimulated by food every night. I'm pretty much eating more for a purpose, to fuel my body, instead of trying to eat the best tasting stuff. So it's not too hard. I'm okay with eating the same thing quite frequently. But I am going to experiment more and make different things, and steak and low carb burgers, lettuce wraps and stuff like that. I'm going to do all that. And I just want to get more towards the organic side, because with food, you never know what's put into it. If it's processed or refined, I mean, look at the ingredients in the back of stuff. It's crazy how much stuff, like ingredients, go into something that's so basic. Or you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I want to go more towards the organic side. I know it's more expensive, but that's a big motivator for me to want to make more money in my career and change careers and become a better person, so I can afford those things, instead of just saying, God, it's expensive to eat healthy. Because that's usually the thing people talk about, is how expensive it is to eat healthy. But that is true for the most part. I mean, you can get away with certain different techniques if you're thinking super hard about it. But for me, the simple solution is make more money. Okay, instead of making an excuse of it's too expensive, let's just go make some more money. And that's my goal as well. And that's why I want more energy, is to have more money, better life, better experiences, better food, better everything. And that's where I want to go. And that's the whole motivator to lose weight. Feel good, look good, have the energy, do the career I want, have a meaningful life, and achieve a lot. So that's really the motivator, and the pain is the motivator, like I said. So if you can relate to that, that's a good thing. Pain is good. Pain is meant to kick you in the butt and say, you got to change something, because it's very painful. And then also, I didn't even mention, but I'm getting way better sleep. I'm actually trying to be disciplined about going to sleep. I'm laying down at 10 o'clock at night and I'm waking up at 7. Okay, so that's like 9 hours of sleep. But I'm just trying to get used to, because usually I'm getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night, and it's taking a toll on my body. I become foggy and unfocused, and I don't really stay disciplined because I'm just tired. I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll just go to fast food and eat whatever I want and blah, blah, blah. And it's like a habitual cycle that just never ends, and it sucks, but I'm trying to change it one thing at a time, not cold turkey everything, throw everything out the window and start today. But now I'm doing a pretty much like 24-hour fast essentially. And eventually I do want to try a multi-day fast, like 3 or 4 days. I mean, it sounds freaking ridiculous. Literally, if I would have thought this way 6 months ago, or if somebody would have said, hey, you know, you should fast for 3 or 4 days, I would have probably laughed at their face and walked away. But I don't know, things happen. Like, people have different motivations at different times. And for me, that makes sense. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's just the basics of what's going on right now. I'm still trying to educate the crap out of myself because I've always ignored the internal side of nutrition and exercise. So I am trying to learn more about that. It's really interesting. And my family's been a bigger family, and I've always been big, and I've always told myself, dude, you're always going to be big. Stop worrying about it. You're meant to be big. You're meant to be heavy. But I don't want to think that way anymore. I think it's a limiting belief, and I guess the more you tell yourself, the more you believe it. But what if I told myself the opposite, and I eventually believe it, right? And then I can achieve that and feel better and look better, and just everything's better for the most part. So that's really where I am. Hope if you've listened to this video all the way through, you're legit. And if you subscribe, you're even more legit. But yeah, I'm done talking. I'll post more videos about this. I don't really want this to be like a stupid fitness or motivation channel. It's just essentially me talking to the camera, and maybe a few people listen. So if you like it, subscribe, maybe share it with a friend or something. You are okay in my book. Have a great day. See ya.